On the phone, we have one of the greatest defensive linemen in NFL history. This gentleman played for the Minnesota Vikings for close to 20 years. I'm going to say it, he should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There's no doubt about it. Jim Marshall. How you doing today, Jim?
Well, I'm doing great.
How did you end up choosing Ohio State for college?
Woody Hayes, he was had watched me in high school and had sent over one of his players to kind of watch me, give me some coaching tips, and he expected in return that I would be going to Ohio State, and offered me a scholarship, and I certainly took him up on that.
Now, you were born in Kentucky.
That's correct.
In Wilsonville. And as the research that I've done, it says it was a small settlement where newly freed slaves had lived.
That's true.
Did you know the history of Wilsonville when you were a youngster?
Oh, absolutely. It was, it was a natural thing that they had explained to me why they settled there in that area, and the members were mostly my family members.
When you went to Ohio State, they had just started the integration of the Big Ten schools. I mean, Minnesota won a national championship back in the early 60s, but was there a lot of discrimination on campus?
There was kind of unwritten laws that you had to abide by. And generally the rules were passed on to you by the players who were there, the senior players, junior players who were there. They kind of took you under their wing and told you these are the things you need to do, and these are the things that you shouldn't do under any circumstances. And it was just kind of a guidance, helping us to go on through school without having any negative things attached to our education.
Do you think kids nowadays have any appreciation for what that sort of existence was?
Oh, I don't think they have an awful lot of it. Some of it has carried over, but there was, it's kind of like we have no idea what the pioneers went through to form, this part of the country. Because it wasn't within our experience. But when you look at things that have to do with history, if you don't really focus on them and understand them and make it a part of your curriculum, you don't really know. So, a lot of the kids that are coming up today have no idea what people before them went through to get them the rights that they have today. It's in the Constitution that all men are created equal, and when you think about it, that wasn't true during times of slavery. It certainly wasn't true in the time leading up to where we are today. It has gotten a lot better, but there's been a struggle to see that all people can have the same rights and have the same respect, and that's still an ongoing process.
Yeah.
What was it like to play for Woody Hayes?
It was a great experience for me. He was like a second father to me, and he was he truly believed in his players. He believed in the school. He believed in football, and he was there as a guide for us, in our careers to accomplish as much as we could accomplish, and without a lot of negativity. He did not allow mistakes. One of the worst things you could do was make a mistake. He was constantly there to correct you and to make sure that you understood that that's something you didn't want to do at any time in the future. So, his lessons were good lessons.
Well, with the possible exception of putting a fist through a chalkboard at halftime?
Well, it was just his enthusiasm, and I think his, the way he felt about the game. It was like the game of life to him, and he got a little riled up at times and put his fist through blackboards. And I remember a couple of reporters that went down the steps of our meeting room because they asked the wrong questions or made the wrong comments.
What was it like that 1957 season when you won the championship?
It was a great time in my career, and I really look back favorably on that experience. It was a great experience.
When you left Ohio State before your senior year and you went to the Canadian Football League with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, did you consult with Woody Hayes at all?
I did not. I did not consult with Woody. It was one of those decisions that my youthful exuberance and I think the investigative character that I had then wanted to see what it was like. I had talked to some guys who had gone up and played earlier, and they were talking about how truly free they felt up in Canada. And I thought, oh boy, that sounds great, a great experience. I went up and tried it for a year. The experience was fantastic. But I came back to play for the Cleveland Browns. I felt that my niche was in the National Football League and not in the Canadian Football League. So,
yeah, and that was back in the day when college players generally went through 4 years of school. It's not like nowadays where guys will leave after a couple of years of college and head to the pros.
Well, we had quite a few guys that left school and pursued other directions. Mm-hmm. It wasn't anything that I thought would be truly harmful to what I wanted to accomplish, and I think it worked well for me.
When you won that game, the Rose Bowl, when Ohio State beat Oregon, what was that game like?
Well, it was a great feeling to win the game, of course. It was a close game, and we felt that we, were a better team and we expected to win. I don't know what more I can tell you about what the feeling was. It was a great feeling. We were national champions, or thought we were national champions, and thought we were the best team, of course, in the Big Ten or in the nation. And I think we proved it by, getting to the Rose Bowl and winning.
Were you expecting to be drafted by the Browns?
Yes. I had been told that I was going to be drafted by the Browns, and that's one reason that I played all my football in Ohio. And I wanted other experiences. When you're young and you have options. That was an option that going to Canada was an option that I wanted to take.
So Paul Brown taught you how to run.
How to run, how to maximize your speed and your ability to run, and minimize the things that you could do that hindered your being as fast as you could be or as quick as you could be. It was very simple things, but it just shows you the attention that he paid to detail, and it paid off for a lot of people. I learned a lot. Certainly helped me, and I'm sure that the other people who we coached, it certainly helped them. But this is just one of the things. The other things, of course, were, not to make mistakes. Again, that Woody Hayes had emphasized in his teaching. But when you get the constant emphasis on things like that, those are things that help you. They help you in your career.
Those practices couldn't have been too fun, though, trying to chase down Jim Brown or Bobby Mitchell.
Well, but those are, when you train and you have the best around you, you learn from them. And I learned a lot from Jim Brown and Bobby Mitchell. They're great people, great players, and I think the things that they emphasized was the excellence that you saw in when they touched the football. You saw them do things that you hadn't seen other players do.
Now, when you were with the Browns, you had encephalitis?
That's correct.
How did that happen?
I was in the Army before I went to the Browns training camp, and I was stationed in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and spent a lot of time in the Big Piney River, which was full of leeches, and when you got out, you were in woods that were infested with ticks, and so you found yourself infested with ticks when you got back to the barracks, and that's how I contracted the encephalitis. Art Modell did a wonderful thing. He got some people who were working on some cure for encephalitis, and I think they were in Europe, and he had them come over and work on me. I was in a hospital called Marymount Hospital, and they evidently what they had to offer was very positive, and I was cured. I was in the latter stages of encephalitis.
Wow. Yeah, because I read that you had dropped to about 215.
Yeah.
Which is sort of a shell of a player that you were.
Yeah. But it took me a few years to gain my weight back, and it was a godsend that I had a team like the Minnesota Vikings that was an expansion team, and so it gave me time to gain weight and work on my skills and get back up to a point where I could be effective as a defensive end in the National Football League.
Were you surprised that the Browns left you unprotected for the expansion draft?
Not at all. We kind of knew that there were a certain number of players that he could protect, and Paul Brown, of course, favored his veteran players, the players that he knew and knew he could depend on. And those are the players that he protected. You know how the expansion draft works. You can protect a certain amount of players, and the rest of them are, up for offer.
When you joined the Vikings, their coach was Norm Van Brocklin. Was it a big change playing for Coach Van Brocklin versus Paul Brown?
Yeah, it was a big change. Norm emphasized, most of the things that we had that I had learned before coming to the Vikings were about eliminating mistakes, about being very precise. Norm wanted us to be fighters. He wanted us to be the tough guys on the field. He felt that's where he could best depend on a ragtag bunch like us to win, is to make us tough. And so that's where his coaching was different from what I'd been taught before. Is you go out there and if you can't win the game, win the fight. And it was a little different, but it also had its benefits. It toughened us up, toughened the players up, and that was great because when Bud Grant came in again and went back to the basics and being specifically eliminating mistakes, knowing your job, and being the best you could be at your position, it of course was different than Norm Van Brocklin, and but yet we had the benefit of what he had taught us. So we had a little bit of both, be mistake-free, be precise, and kick ass.
So in practice, you got to chase after Fran Tarkington?
Absolutely. We chased after him, and that was fun. It was fun until he left and went to the Giants,
right.
And then we had to chase after him for real out there, and he ended up beating us.
At what point did the Purple People Eaters coalesce to become one of the great defensive lines that they did?
Well, I think it started in the early '60s when we got Carl Eller. Alan Page came in, and then Larson, and I think we realized some successes. Again, trying to put everything together got a bit easier when you had the talent of Eller and Page, and it came together. The coaches believed in us and believed that we could do the things that we wanted to do, and allowed us to go out and pursue playing the way we knew how to play, that would be successful for each one of us individually and for the front four as a team, which led to, of course, linebackers and the defensive backs being able to do it gave them time to do the things that they wanted to do. It just worked.
I know Paul Krause gives you guys a lot of credit for his interceptions, for the record he set.
Well, Paul was great. He was a center fielder. He could lay back, and he knew in 3.5 seconds if we didn't have the quarterback down, the ball was in the air, and so that gave him time to make some good decisions and to really go after the ball, and he was great at it.
How does a guy recover an NFL record 30 fumbles?
Being alert. You cause fumbles. One of the things that we learned to do was to was to get in and if at all possible, cause a fumble. And if you work on that on a daily basis, and that was part of our training every day, was fumble recovery.
Who gets the credit for that defense being as great as it was? The players, or was it excellent coaching?
I think it was a combination of both. We had a great coach. Jack Patera was our toughest coach, and I think it was his ability to get the absolute best out of each one of us, and I think we were in better shape than any team in the National Football League because he ran the hell out of us. And one of the things that he would do periodically in our, when we were doing our drills was to toss a football down there, and you knew that when that football came out, when it was down on the ground, that your job was to recover it. And so we got quite good at that.
When you retired, you had the NFL record for consecutive games played at 282, which I can't believe that anybody could stay that healthy for that many games. What was the key to setting that record?
I don't know if there was a key to it, but you have to play hurt a lot. There were times that I'd spend a week in the hospital and get out and go play the game, and then go back to the hospital. It wasn't like today when you had the doctor there evaluating you and checking whether you were able to go back in or not. We wanted to be in. We wanted to. Anytime the front four was in, we all wanted to be together. It's like a single unit that, if one piece was missing, then, things just weren't quite right. So we all wanted to be in there, and we all wanted to be together. So, I had, I think in a week's time, I had an ankle operation and recovered from my ankle operation in time to play the following week.
Who was the leader of the defense?
Well, I was captain of the defense, so I guess you could call me the leader. But I think the front four collectively were the leaders of the defense.
Did you ever think to yourself, if they counted sacks back when I was playing, people would recognize what I did a lot more, because it seems like it's become a stat-orientated league?
You got to repeat that one again.
Nope. Did you ever think to yourself, if they ever kept track of sacks when I was playing, people would realize what a great player I was, and I might be in the Hall of Fame, and people would appreciate what I did more?
I don't think of it that way. It sounds a little selfish to me, but I had a lot of my first 4 years. I had a heck of a lot more sacks than I did in the next 15 years that I played with the Vikings. And see, they didn't keep track of that back during those times. But I don't think of that as being a vehicle to get in the Hall of Fame. Those are statistics, and I don't know how the whole process works, but I don't look at it that way.
I'm just thinking of the fearsome foursome. All you would ever hear was Deacon Jones saying, "I invented the sack. I was the greatest ever." It seemed like that he kind of put that attitude out there that this is what you need to do to be a great defensive player.
Well, yeah, that's Deacon. No, that was Deacon. That's the way Deacon thought. He thought he was the greatest, and it's like Muhammad Ali. He thought of himself as the greatest, and that's beneficial. And in some circles, that's beneficial. But what we tried to accomplish was to have a team because it's a team sport. We wanted to make sure that everybody could do the best job that they could do, that they were capable of doing, and that's what would lead to our success as a team. And that's kind of the way I looked at it, and that's the way I think most of the guys on our successful teams looked at it. So,
was there any competition with the Fearsome Foursome, with the Purple Peep Eaters, thinking we want to be better than them, or we want to be more recognized than them?
Not more recognized, but I thought we could be a better team than the Fearsome Foursome, and I thought we accomplished that. We were the only team. The Pro Bowl is voted on by the players, and we were the only team to have all four members of our front four voted on as the best at our position, and we played in the Pro Bowl. We started the Pro Bowl as a front four. And I don't think anybody else has ever done that.
No, I don't think so. Now, you're one of 11 players who was in all four of the Vikings Super Bowls in the 1970s. Do you have a favorite one?
I don't have a favorite one because we didn't win one. And when you don't win, it's like being a bridesmaid,
Right.
You participate in the ceremony, but you don't get the goodies.
Did it become hard after a while when you kept going and not winning? Did you think to yourself, you know what? Is there someone just doesn't like us?
Well, I don't know. I think there was probably a time when I felt that way, that the big man upstairs is frowning on us. We've done something wrong, but it's not about that. It's about your performance on the field. It's one thing that football is. It's a great common denominator. It weeds out the truth from fiction. And when we played in the four Super Bowl games that we played in. We didn't perform well enough to win, and it's as simple as that. There are games that we lost that we certainly felt we should win, and there were games that we felt that we played that we just didn't play well enough to win, and I think that's the case with the four Super Bowls.
When you had your number 70 retired by the Vikings and inducted to the Ring of Honor, how was that experience for you?
I think it was great. It was a great feeling to have the team honor you in that way, and to know that there's my jersey and my number, and no one else will ever have that number. That's a great honor, and it's very humbling, especially when the team that you play for thinks enough of you to do something like that. I think it's just a great honor.
Did you enjoy living in Minneapolis area?
Certainly enjoyed it. I retired here. I stayed here after football, and there's enough negative about the temperature that you experience in the winters up here. But man, we have some magnificent spring, summer, and fall. So, I mean, you sacrifice that the experience that you have in the winter for the wonderful spring, summer, and fall that you have. So, it kind of, at least to me, it's a great experience. And I got into winter sports. I liked going snowmobiling and that sort of thing. And it was a lot of fun for me, and so I got a chance to enjoy the winter, but I really enjoy the spring and summer.
You just have to tell yourself, okay, I'm going to survive this winter.
Yeah. Well, you can always take a vacation, make your vacation time the winter time, and get off to someplace like Arizona or Florida, down to Mexico, places like that, down to the Caribbean, to islands and stuff like that. That's, to me, being able to do that in the winter is a godsend. You get to experience some more spring and summer in the winter.
Now, I read that you're talking about snowmobiling, but I read that once in the 70s you were in Wyoming, and a blizzard. It was
in Montana.
Okay, it was in Montana, and it blew you over a cliff.
Yeah.
How did you survive?
Well, I took wings and flew. No, it was one of those situations where we were going over Beartooth Pass, Beartooth Mountains in the southern part of Montana, bordering on Wyoming, and so it was one of those situations where a storm overran us. Winds were over 100 miles an hour, and when you have those kind of storms, you don't have any control of anything. I was blown off my snowmobile, and I was fortunate enough to hit a guardrail. I went up under the guardrail and grabbed onto some rocks to keep from falling, and my snowmobile actually hit the guardrail and stopped. Had it not, had that guardrail not been there, the machine probably would have knocked me off the cliff, and I wouldn't be here to talk to you. But the nature of the beast, man, you get in a storm like that, you just don't have any control whatsoever. It's nature. Nature has control.
Yeah. So after that, you think to yourself, maybe I should take up scuba diving instead?
Oh, I was already scuba diving, and it's skydiver, scuba diver, and snowmobiles. It's just you got to pick the right time to do things. We were up there going over this mountain I think it was in February. It's the coldest time of the year, especially in the mountains, and the time when it's most the weather is most unpredicted. What's going to happen up there is going to happen because nature calls on it. So there it goes.
Well, who is the toughest player you went up against?
Jim Parker.
Okay.
What made him so tough?
He was my mentor. He had actually one of the players of Woody Hayes had asked to come and help me when I was in high school, and then when I went to Ohio State, I played across from him, and he just beat the hell out of me, and I think he helped me to become a much better player than I would have been had I not had the interaction with him. He's a great football player. He was All-American. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's one of the greatest offensive tackles that played the game, and he was tough, but I beat him.
Yeah, I was going to say, did it get easier going up against him in the NFL than it was on the practice field?
Oh no. Oh, definitely. When we were in the NFL, it was a lot better because I had the experience of having played across from him as a freshman in college, and him being a senior. Like I say, he just beat the hell out of me, and until I learned the things that I needed to do to beat him. So when I did beat him, I remember the first time that I tackled Johnny Unitas, and I remember him standing over me and shaking his head in approval, let me know that he thought I'd come of age. But that's the kind of guy he was.
Yeah. Now, you survived a lot of things. One of them is the 50th anniversary of running the wrong way in a Vikings game against San Francisco.
Okay. And your question is?
Has that been difficult to live with? It has brought you a certain amount of fame.
Well, I tell you what, think of the worst mistake that you've ever made, the worst thing that you could have ever done in your career, and you make that in front of millions of people. How would you feel?
Not too good.
Yeah. And yet it lives on, and there's still people like you who would ask me that question.
But you know what gets lost in that game is the Vikings won when Ella returned a fumble, and the guy who caused the fumble was you.
That's right, and nobody remembers that.
No.
See? You gotta accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative.
I've heard that song before.
Yes, indeed.
At least your coach gave you a compliment. He said you had the most interesting play in the game.
Yeah, he did. And he was very nice about it.
But like I was telling my wife, we were watching the NFL. I was watching NFL Network, and she was in the room, and she saw that play. And I looked at her, I go, you know what, though? It's easy to do because you get turned around out there, and you pick up the ball, and you just go.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you're playing like that, and you're completely involved in the whole thing, and you get hit a lot, you know. And I'd gotten hit and knocked around and turned around, and all of a sudden there's a ball, and you pick up the ball and you see the goal post and you run for it. You know, I mean, it's one of those mistakes that you never want to make a second time. I know every time I went on the field after that, first thing I would do is I identified the first half, which is my goal post, and some things that I could recognize down there, so that would never happen again. And the second half of the game, I'd look at the other end zone and recognize something down there that could be my key or my trigger. So if I ever picked up a ball, I'd know that's the way I got to go. But it only takes one time that you make a mistake like that you don't, correct the way that you think about the game and fumbles and whether or not you're going to pick one up and run with it again.
You're not the only person to do that, though. I remember watching the Three Stooges. Curly did that, I think, in one of the football games.
So did Roy Regal.
Yeah, Roy Wrong Way Regals. I understand he sent you a letter after.
Well, they said I had correspondence from him, but I'm not sure that wasn't you guys taking your literary license and making something up.
Somebody's good imagination makes for a good story.
Does it bother you that you haven't gone in the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I would say it. You know, I can't say it bothers me. I would love to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but there's a certain set of credentials that you need, and if I don't have the credentials, then I don't belong there. And if I do have the credentials, eventually it'll happen. So you just it's not something that you put a lot of thought to, because you could run yourself crazy if you thought about something like that for years and years and years. If it's going to happen, it'll happen. If it's not, it won't. I live a good life, and I'm very happy with the way my life is now. And I don't think that there's anything that I would sit back and want or pine about. It would be counterproductive to living a good life.
Because we talked to Roger Brown the other day, and Roger Brown said if he goes in after he's dead, he's coming back for the induction.
Good old Roger. Yeah.
He's still cooking food.
Oh, great.
Now, you were the last of the expansion Vikings to retire. How did you know it was time to retire, and were you ready for life after football when you did?
Well, how did I know? I think my body told me. I was pretty beat up. I think I was bone on bone with both knees. My hips were giving me trouble. I played until I was 42 years old. I played defensive end until I was 42 years old. It's not many guys that you can think of that have done something like that. I mean, there's guys from other positions, yeah, but defensive end is a position that you get hit, or you're hitting somebody every play, multiple times, every play of the game. And I started every game that I ever played, and I think just about I finished every game that I ever played. So it's a lot of physical punishment on this body of mine that it told me that it was time, and I listened to it.
What was your favorite moment in professional football?
I think my favorite moment in professional football would have to be 1969 when we won the divisional championship that sent us to the Super Bowl.
Was there anything specific about that?
It was that great feeling that already we have an opportunity to be the best in the world at something. And of course the outcome wasn't what we liked, but it's that way in life. It's disappointments, and it's not how many times you get knocked down that count, it's how many times you get up.
Right.
And we got up and we continued to win, and had three more chances at winning, but never realized being a Super Bowl champion or a world champion. But the experience was great.
And the thing about those early Super Bowls is the focus was on the game. Certainly from a spectator standpoint, it wasn't about big parties. It wasn't about television commercials. It was about the best in the AFL against the best in the NFL.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's the best in the AFC versus the NFC. But back then, it was like, okay, if I'm the Vikings, I'm representing the whole NFL, and that seems like an awfully big burden, for 11 guys on the field at one time to have to bear.
But everybody who gets in that position has to bear that burden, don't they?
Yeah.
One last question. A lot of the former players we've talked to said the greatest player ever was Jim Brown. Do you agree?
I think, see, this again, this is a thing that you cannot. I would say in his era, yes, Jim Brown was the greatest player in his era. The time that he played, I think he was. I mean, there was nobody who could surpass the things that he was able to do. No one did, you know.
Because he was as big as defensive lineman, but he was as fast as the fastest running back around.
Yeah.
You know, and if you got past those defensive linemen, all of a sudden he's going up against 165, 175, 185 pound defensive backs. You know, he may have made it past the 200-pound linebacker, but he's the biggest guy that he has to face, and he's sort of running down. He's just running downfield against those guys.
Yeah. Jim Brown was very smart, and I think he looked at that and he knew he could run over those backs. You know, and he did, and that's what gave him the reputation that he had. He knew he was an extremely intelligent player, and he knew how to take advantage of situations and turn them into a success.